Hello, everyone. This is a very special episode where Keith sits down with Eduardo Norell for a live stream session for the group Engage and Elevate, a group run by Eduardo Norell, where they teach contractors and business people how to manage their own brand identity. And on this special episode, they talk about family, relationships, and also business, of course. But most importantly, the path from nothing to greatness. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and here they are.
Let me just introduce you guys to a special person. Very special person.
I'm going to turn around. Or
no, wait. No, don't turn around. Don't turn around. Put your face. The people need to see you. A very special person. I share with this guy. Actually, let me see. Let me see if I can explain this. So, his son is my son. Listen to this. And my daughter is your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the fruit of that love we share in common too. So it's the grandnieces.
Yes.
So this guy is his name is Keith Callaway. Thank you so much for taking out of your busy schedule. I know for the fact I'm a witness of that. Out of your busy schedule to be here, and the reason that I want you to be here is because the experience that you have accumulated through these years, it will be so helpful because our audience is full of young contractors, and young business owners, or some not so young, but at least they have they've been in business maybe a few years. Other ones that have more experience. But I have seen your growth in the last few years. It's been an exponential growth. And I want you to be here so they can see that they can achieve things. Mm-hmm. So it's not only limited to us. And the reason that Keith is here is also because he has a podcast, which I love the name. The name is Greatness from Small Beginnings. And that was that's why I titled, the whole life today, From Nothing to Greatness. It's just a paraphrasing a little bit, your journey. So please, welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I am.
Yeah. And of course, we have to start from the beginning. And the title is From Nothing to Greatness.
Yes. Well, for those of you that don't know, I'm in the paving business. Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll get into the why behind that. But for the first 3 years I was in business, if you can even call it that. I started in the middle of a recession. I was so stupid I didn't know it was a recession. I just knew I could do better than my job.
How old were you?
I was 19.
Ooh.
I got married when I was 19. 2 months later, I quit the minimum wage job that I had and said, I can do better. I had had a little experience knocking on doors for various reasons. I wasn't fearful of going out and stimulating conversation and trying to sell. That's not what bothered me at all. And so I can do better. So I did. That year, my wife's family got into paving, asphalt paving that year. And I was out on job sites with them a couple of times, and I realized, well, this isn't that hard. And I thought, well, if they can do it, I certainly can do it. And my egotistical thought was, well, if they can do it, then I can do it and get rich. That's actually, my advice would be not to think that way, because that's not only foolishness, but it's pride. And anything conceived in pride is probably a bad path. At least you're going to have to adjust the path an awful lot between here and some good result, right?
Exactly.
So be careful of your ego.
Yeah, that's
entrepreneurs have to have a certain level of audacious ego.
Yeah,
because we don't see what's in front of us. I told somebody recently that's in a fairly big company that what we have to get used to as leaders, and this is a woman and she's kind of in a controller position. What we have to get used to as leaders is making big decisions based on 70% or less of the information. And she went, like it seized her up. And I know she makes big decisions sometimes, but she wants more. And I said, we have to be okay with making decisions without all the information.
Yeah.
That's just that's just the game we're in. That's the game we're playing.
There is a fine line between ego and confidence.
That's right. So you can be confident that you can make those right adjustments, but the ego would be, no, I'm going to do it anyway. I might have 10%, 20%, 30% of the information. Well, I'll tell you, that's not enough. You need to probably look into it a little deeper. That ego drove me. Now it's been to a good place, but it's been decades, right?
Of learning.
So for your audience's sake, the first 30 years, there were times of feast. Like there were good times in those first 30 years being in business. 40 years now in business. But there was a lot of lessons learned the hard way, and there's stories, crazy, funny stories, tragic stories, things breaking, injuries, potential death, right in front of me. Like, oh man, I'm pretty sure that by now that I've given my guardian angels, and I actually really believe they exist because I've seen it firsthand, that I've given them a pretty good workout over the years.
Yeah, they're sweating.
Yeah, they're sweating, trying to keep up.
That's it. Yeah. Whoa, man.
Yeah. I remember one day a tire flying through the air that had come off of one of my trailers and hit an oncoming car. Wow. And thankfully it didn't hit the windshield, it hit the front of the car. But literally a split-second difference with the speed of the two going, someone could have died.
Yeah.
And that's just one of many situations where I say, well, thank you, Lord. I humbly thank you. I had no control. But we're okay, it seems. We'll get through this. Anyway, a lot of lessons, but grateful the whole way through, but really grateful now because there's been a lot of perseverance. I told somebody that, hey, I was 37 years in business when I said this. I said the two things about me, because he was saying that, oh, what a great job. And I said, well, I'm not really that great a business owner. I mean, I'm really not intuitively, but I can take a lot of pain and I'm just tenacious. Like I just take the next step, pain or no pain. And that hopefully can encourage your audience that there's some pain out there right now. It's hard and they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, actually, I have 46 people relying on me and my son and my wife and the leadership team right now. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen next week. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure. So it's a tension we live in. We've chosen it. We've raised our hand, volunteered. Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't have, but we've volunteered for it. And the world runs on people like us, people like you, living in that tension.
Yes. There were moments that you were this close to throwing the towel.
Yeah.
There were moments that you were this close of hanging the gloves and said, that this is it.
Yes.
Maybe I'm in the wrong business.
Yes.
So
well, it seemed like the answers come at the right times in almost every case. If you're trying to live right, the answers come at the right times. And in every case where I was just done, I just want to be done, then something would blow wind back in the sails. And often it was an older man at church or another business person from somewhere I just randomly met that I was just frustrated. And in each case, there was encouragement that for various reasons, but encouragement, no, go on, do today. And then all you have to worry about is getting up and then do it tomorrow. Just make your next choice the right choice. And the pathway will begin to reveal itself. And that's not wrong. We do need a plan.
Yes.
Like we need a 1-year
course.
plan. We need 3-year. It's good to have a picture out there, 5 to 10 years, what we want to look like. It's important. It's good because we want to know where we're headed. Our wives want to know kind of more or less where we're headed, right? And there's a bit of security in just what I call a pencil sketch, one that you could take the pencil and erase it and put something else up there. It's important to have a vision. But when you're really wondering, like, what is it? What's my decision today? Do the thing you knew yesterday to do. If it was right, then repeat that, and then tomorrow might look a little different, but do what you know is right and keep going. Do tomorrow as well as you can do it. And that might mean adding something. It might mean just stay in the course.
Yeah. You mentioned something that really struck to me. That is, you mentioned the word vision. How big of a play is a vision? And not only the vision, that the dream that we have, that dream that, I would like to have a business this big, or I would like to have a lot of money, or that's part of a vision that we have as a person. But when you say vision, you refer to that dream that we have, because a dream without a plan is just that. It's just a dream.
Yes.
Right. But it's when you say vision, you refer to kind of like a vision statement that keep you focused, or is it just a pathway?
No, it's far more personal than that. It's trying to answer the question, what is this business supposed to be doing for me? What do I want it to do for me? God put me on this earth for greatness of some kind. Otherwise, why would he have chosen to think of me millennia ago, plan me out, and then put me in this century? Well, that didn't just happen from nowhere. He had a plan. Why did he put me here now? Because I have some greatness in me that says this is what you're to do, and be. More important, be. But then out of the be, you get to do. Well, that being said, if I'm going to do my great thing that he's put me on this earth to do, first I have to understand in small pieces, because you don't get it all at once. It would be overwhelming if he gave us the vision 20 years from now, what he thought we needed to do, right? It'd be overwhelming. Yes. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have a clue what to do. But he gives it in pieces. Thankfully, he's very gracious that way. But when we start seeing it in bigger pieces, because we can handle bigger pieces in a moment sometimes, then we might go, okay, well, if that's what I'm supposed to be, that's part of my greatness, then how do I get there? That's kind of what vision is. But one of the things we've expanded to at K&L, and we expect that we'll probably be somewhere at 50 to 55 people this year, probably. I actually meet with each, usually early in the year. Next week is full of that. I've got appointments listed where I meet with each, kind of talk through visions, goals. What are they? What are their dreams? And the best thing about a company that's big enough to have a few employees is that we, the business owner, you and I and these other people watching, need to have a dream, a vision big enough that actually everybody else's can fit underneath it. So if you're 10 employees, 3 employees, they want to buy homes, then I need to figure out what that's going to cost to some degree. Not that I'm responsible for them buying their home, but what wage does it take to do that? And how do I help them get there? And if my dream isn't big enough as a company, then I'm actually holding them back a little bit. So that's what I mean by vision. It's personal, and it's personal because there's people involved, not just me. It's personal because I want it. Like, I have some audacious things that I could talk about someday. Now, I don't know that it'll ever happen. I don't know if it should, but I've had this idea. What if I bought a jet? I know some people on the East Coast. I know dozens of people on the East Coast that some of them I would like to see more than once a year, once every 2 years. And they're part of organizations and things that I would like to be deeper involved in. and not on Zoom every time, and so what would that look like? What would that look like if I took the 40 years of experience and became a coach, and I could go meet people instead of doing it all on Zoom? What would that look like? So this is my audacious thinking.
Okay.
Now, should I? I don't know. But if I never think it, it's certainly not going to happen. If I never allow my mind to think possibility, then I will never find the possibility because I won't build a pathway. My mind won't let God put the pathway in as to what the possibility is and how I get there. So over the years, I'm a great example of limiting myself. For most of those 30 plus years of struggle, I held myself back because I had these crazy blinders on. No, I'm supplying for my family. An opportunity would sneak, to come in from the side, and I'd be like, no, that's out of my comfort zone. And it wasn't about comfort as much as it didn't fit that perfect picture of less risk to supply for my family. Like I didn't want to risk that one thing. Ends up that because there was a financial roller coaster those 30 years, it was feast or famine. I was already risking.
All the time.
It wouldn't have been more risk. It would have been the same risk, and my blinders were too small to see it. I had like a horse that was being pointed only this way. I should have had him out here where I could see the peripheral view for the sake of the people around me, including my family. So there's an urgency in my life. I turned 60 this last year, and there's an urgency in my life to kind of catch up because I think I wasted some opportunity back then, not in a regretful way. Like I'm not pounding on myself. But the point is I could have done better. Now I know that I saw it wrong or I didn't see it big enough. Well, guess what? I see it bigger now. So let's run. Let's go to it.
Yeah. So the title of the live today was From Nothing to Greatness. And I know that when I say nothing was nothing, you really started the whole thing with nothing.
So when I bought my first piece of equipment for paving, we used to save $2 bills, my wife and I, because they were cool. My grandma gave them to us. There were a lot of reasons why we saved $2 bills. And we don't do it anymore, so don't come and don't ask me about this. We do still save $2 bills, but we used to tuck them behind the pictures. We didn't have a safe, and we used to tuck them, like just take the pictures down and tuck 10 $2 bills on this side and a few around, and it was a place to hide them. Okay, the kids couldn't get to them, right? And so we hid the $2 bills behind the pictures, and I had saved up for this little dump bed thing that slid in the back of a pickup. It was super small. It would sit in the back of just a pickup truck. And it was used. It was $950. And I had saved up $850. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know where I was going to get the other $100. But I knew I needed to buy it before someone else did. I told my wife, I need some of those $2 bills. And she said, if you need them, you need them. So I had to $850 in hundreds, 50s, some 20s. And then I had $52 bills. And I went to the guy and I said, here it is. That first year, like I bought it in late 87. And in 88, my brother-in-law and we borrowed a roller from someone in the family. Didn't buy it, we borrowed it. And borrowed all the hand tools that it took. And we went out and just with that little dump bed, it would only lift a couple of tons of asphalt. It was electric. And we patched potholes within 2 months. I had traded my pickup in for a little 1-ton dump truck. So we doubled our quantity. And then I revised some things on the dump truck to make it so we could haul in a little bit more. And then we used that little dump bed, put it on his pickup. And there, so within that first year, now, even though it was ridiculously small capacity, we had 4 times our capacity for what we could put on and take out and do projects. So it was small potatoes, but for us, it just increased the dollars at the end of the day. and we literally at the end of every day counted our money because we needed to know what we were going to take home. We had to know.
Exactly. And yeah, that's the small beginnings.
Yeah.
But you have grown.
Oh man. Yes.
Not in size, but you have grown.
Yes.
Not only as a person, but also as a business man and as a leader, but as a company in general. So from making nothing sometimes, you guys are all in the number, 7 figures.
Yeah. Well, it's beyond that now, and it's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how anybody could grow like we have. And just to put it in perspective, 8 years ago, there was a family crisis that kind of ended all of a sudden. And it brought the family back together, family business, right? Brought the family back together. We were able to get some momentum. Since the first of that year, where that kind of started coming back together, is 8 years and 2 months from now back. Okay. And we've grown 20 times.
Okay.
In 8 years. That's
20 times. And
to be truthful, it's too much. But you said I've grown. I've grown as a person. I've grown as a business owner. I've grown, as a leader. And I needed to grow in all those ways. You can't grow that fast and not realize that there's a lot of other things that where there's improvement necessary also. You can't be the leader that it takes to go from, I just came across a picture and there was the entire company, except for my wife, was standing in the picture, and there was 6 of us. That was that year. That was a year after that.
The year after that.
There were 6 of us, and my wife was in the company in the office. She probably took the picture. I don't remember.
No, I remember being in the parking lot.
There was 6 of us.
I remember being in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And seeing 2 trucks.
Yeah.
So now I go there and it's it seems like it's a dealership.
Yes.
Of trucks.
Keith Jr., my son, just put a post out recently that showed a picture of the truck that made us think, what if we had that? What if we had a fleet of those? We didn't buy that particular truck, but he posted a picture that he had. Maybe he had posted it then also. It was a memory from 6 years ago or something. And he said, this is what started the ball rolling to some degree on the equipment side of what we did, the production side of what we do, to what if we upgraded everything? What if we added? We just put sticker number 50 on a truck 2 weeks ago.
Sticker number 50.
And there's some of them coming that we don't, like this year we have to buy a water truck. We have to buy, there's more. It never stops. And so we went from one dump truck and a couple of pickups and old used equipment 8 years ago to 50 trucks. Not every number represents a truck because we've sold some or whatever, but over 40 trucks. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. I saw a switch, on the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the switch, and I saw that switch was kind of like bringing another mindset to you guys as a company. Mm-hmm. And of course, this group it talks about branding,
mm-hmm.
And how important it is, the branding, because even though when we do logos for companies and we develop brands for companies, the logo being the visual part, being just the tip of the iceberg, just give a sense of a visual appearance and makes it the company attractive.
Mm-hmm.
But underneath that surface, there's a lot of branding things that we have to have in mind, like personality, like values.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit more about, because when you guys started, just grabbing the concept of branding, things start changing on the company.
Yes. So we liked our brand. We like our colors. We chose red and black. There's some videos out there about why, and it's a color scheme my father-in-law always liked it. There's reasons, not great reasons, honestly. We just liked it, and it was very visible. So we did that. We liked the logo from all the way from 1984 when I started in business. And for the first 3 years, I did just general contracting, kept the logo. But about roughly 6 years ago, we started thinking that what if we'd heard that it was really good to post something every day on social media. It helps notoriety, helps the brand a little bit, and it might even get us more jobs. Well, that'd be good, right? Yeah. I mean, the more eyes that are on us, the better. Mm-hmm. And social media is a pretty good way to at least conceive. You can think of doing that. So there's a story behind it. But our profit margins had gone up by some good decision making, getting out of our old mindset on how much we should charge. Now there's some stories that go with that, and we could dig into that for several minutes for sure. But our mindset was standing in the way. Once something kicked that chair out from underneath us, and we realized that we were not charging enough. We started charging more, and we could afford more things. We could afford more productivity items. Okay. So there was a teeter-totter going back and forth. Well, if we sell more and sell it for higher, then we can afford more stuff and produce more. Well, then we need more people to sell. And then, there's this teeter-totter that went up. And since then, we've discovered that there's other pieces, the administrative piece and the culture piece, and you better take it all together, or you're going to end up being held down. Yes. Right. So, but first we just started looking at it at this single teeter-totter going back and forth. But we decided that it would be fun. I'm a fun guy. Like I like the word fun, and it's important to me. Like it probably should be in my list of personal core values, but I mean, it's not, but it probably should be, because I kind of prioritize it. And so we hired a full-time video guy, and he would shoot our stuff, and then he would put out videos at least once a week and do posts once a week. And it was cool. It's cool to see the feedback. I don't think it got us a job for 2 years. Like it didn't fill that bucket at all, but it was cool because we started becoming known, not just here in Portland, but all over. And we started having people reach out. Hey, what about this? What about that? And so you build relationships, and that's what social media is for, not most of the other stuff we use it for. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. But we started building relationships, and that was super fun. But what we found that helped us the most, that might be of interest to some of your listeners, is that when COVID started and we got a year or even less into COVID, most companies were struggling to find people that were willing to work. Yeah, that's right. Our social media feeds created an energy around our brand. We have never struggled. We always have a list of people, and we don't have to post for it. We had an organic list of people that were interested in working for us because they saw us. Prior to that, we were trusted. The energy was there. We displayed smiles rather than just equipment. We showed people doing their thing. We interviewed people. We turned our brand. We helped people be our brand.
Oh, I love that.
And that's what we've never, still to this day, we in the last 3 years, we bought 7 trucks. There's some reasons for that. Some what's the term I'm looking for? Some pollution reasons, where California, there's these big things are feeding from California, and Oregon's all bought into this whole clean air thing. And so we're having to buy new trucks, and there's some industry stuff going on where it's harder to hire them, rent them for reasonable rates. And so we have to balance that and say, well, then we need to own more ourselves. And every time we bought a new truck, we had several drivers we could put into it. And that's what branding, that's what social media, branding on social media has done for us, is that it's given us visibility, and it's created a recruitment that we didn't expect that. I had no idea that would happen. I thought it would bring a few customers. It's brought a few, but it certainly has not paid for itself. So I would encourage unless you're using a lead magnet to get leads, just your posting and interesting stuff does not bring customers enough to pay to have someone help you do this. Like, it didn't pay for our video guy.
Full time.
Yes, they have a full. It doesn't pay for that. So some people will need to adjust. If they want to do it, they'll need to do it themselves, or they'll need to get some part-time help or some outsourced, situation, and that's fine. But what the biggest surprise and the best thing is that all the companies, I never talked to anybody in 2021 in our area that wasn't struggling to find people, and we never struggled once.
Yes, but there is also mentioning, it's just to be present. Branding is a little bit more than just us considering who we are. Yes. It's how the people think about us when we are not present. So, being that black and red of your trucks all over the town, it also makes an impact. Yeah. Because even though when you have, even if you have just one truck, but just with the colors on it, it's a billboard that is screaming out to people what you do. Yeah.
So branding is the essence of marketing. It's like the front cover of a book. It doesn't tell you all the content, but your brand is the front cover. Is it interesting or is it not? And if the front of the book just has the title of the book and the name of the author, you're probably not going to be very interested in it. Now, the content might be fantastic, but you're probably not going to be very interested in it. Well, your branding is the cover.
I love that concept, because that's precisely that. Branding is just that cover, making the cover so attractive that the people pay attention. They want to know more what is inside. And that's what, the small contractor struggles a lot. It's because they know that the inside, the story of that book is amazing. Yes. But how you make those people to get excited about buying that book and opening that book and learn from it? How you make that process?
And we're still trying to figure it out.
Exactly.
It
is evolving
in the residential space, because we do residential, commercial, industrial, and we're now getting into public works, doing streets and roads. Well, the residential was down half this last year from the year before. And so that means that we need a more prevalent brand. We need to be seen and known by more homeowners. Well, how do we do that? Right. Well, there's 15 ways, all the way from super expensive to free, and they work differently depending on where you point. And so there is no answer. I can't give an answer what's best for anybody out there, because I'm still trying to figure it out. Yes, your website's important to some degree, but it's not the only answer. Nope. SEO is important, but it's certainly not the only answer. Paid ads of some kind or another, yes, it's one thing you can do. You can also break the bank. So what do you do? Facebook ads. I don't know. There's certain times of the year where in Portland, Facebook ads are a waste. So when do we do them? Well, I don't know yet. Still working on it.
Yes. And it is and people need to understand that it's a process. And we need to start learning and adjusting. There is no specific formula for those people that comes to you and say, hey, there is a perfect formula and it's going to work 100%. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No,
And
it's
you
not.
need to be self-focused. This is one area of your business where you should be a little bit selfish. Self-focused is when somebody is telling you something, don't believe them.
Mhm.
Be suspicious. Be curious. Not that they're lying, because from their perspective, they've got the best product and the best ability, whatever. But we looked at some very cutting edge, perhaps we were going to do a new website, and we're still working on that idea. And a new manager of the website, perhaps. And we got different ideas, different quotes. And one of them was very focused, very edgy, highly intuitive, using AI and some of the other things that are more trendy. And they showed good metrics for it, but it also cost 3 times the amount. And I'm like, well, it's seeming like conservative is the way we should go. But if I spent 3 times the amount and I created, if I put that residential side back where it was the year before, it would be worth it. But they can't guarantee that's going to happen. And I'm suspicious that it won't. So I'm not going to spend that money without counting the cost of wasting it.
Yes. What is for sure is if you do nothing and you stay the same, nothing new is going to happen.
Nothing new is going to happen. That's
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
So you have to test.
Yes. So I know that with branding also came other challenges, like it costs money, right? Because, for example, now we have all the trucks wrapped.
Mm-hmm.
That costs a lot of money.
That costs a lot of money. Just do the math. They average 3,000 or 4,000 a piece, and the dump trucks are more.
Yeah, because of the size, the area covered.
Yes. And so
just that piece alone,
it
is a tremendous investment, but it has paid for itself.
Yes, that one is one of the best. We do track our data as best we can. It's difficult to understand exactly where every lead came from, but that is on our list of where the leads came from. That's the second highest converting lead source. So over the last several years, we've spent $100,000 because now we're having to rewrap because we started over 3 years ago, and you can't leave it on there for more than 4 years. They say 3. So we're having to start to rewrap now. Okay. So there's a downside to that. And yet we've changed our color scheme just a little bit. So we want to go with all the fresh new stuff, right? Well, that being said, if that's a converting lead source, we don't want to get away from it.
If it's working,
don't
fix it.
We need to stay with it. And as long as we're able to drive the roads around the Portland metro area, those billboards pay off. More importantly than the billboard when it's moving is more important that it's sitting in the neighborhood we're working in.
It's awareness.
Because that's where it converts. So the contractors that are on this feed, they need to have more than a sign on their truck. Because the neighbors, you want the neighbors to walk over. That means they've taken an active role in the sales process. And when they've done that, the chance of conversion doubles or triples. Yeah. And so though it might be nice to see your truck as it's driving, if they see it in the neighbor's driveway or in the front of the neighbor's house, it's way more powerful.
Yeah. Even I have so many stories of customers saying, hey, we just out of the vehicle wrap, neighbors, they just through the window, they saw they saw the website, the QR code,
something,
and they end up on their website, and they won't tell you that they saw on the truck. They say, oh yeah, I saw here your website, right?
Yeah,
but they saw it first on the truck, and they saw that truck on the gas pump, and they just look at it. Well, black and red, K and L, and that keeps you start kind of like occupying a piece of that brain and just establishing your brand. So when they have it in front of them, so there is a little bit more trust to the brand. And you guys have done an excellent job. on that regard.
Yeah. So just to let you all know, we've set some metrics for our sales team. We have 6 salespeople, and I'm their leader of that division. And we've set some metrics, and it's important to have them. This is what we're each going to do each week. And I won't get into all those metrics, but I'm doing the same metrics. One of the metrics, the most simple one, is 50 contacts a week. Now there's different micro metrics in there. What's a contact? How many phone calls do they have to? How do they get credit for certain types of interactions? There's certain metrics in there, but each salesperson is required accountable for doing 50 contacts a week. On top of their writing their bids, doing their estimates, on top of all that. Some of that's included. But I'm doing the same thing. Well, I'm not out doing bids. I'm making sure they're all out doing bids. So what do? How do I make my contacts? Well, I send handwritten cards on to ones we've given estimates to, that they have given estimates to. I send out somewhere between 20 and 40 cards a week. So there's part of my contacts.
They are branded.
Yes, they're branded.
With your logo.
Yes.
With your colors.
Yes, and they're handwritten.
So it's a special connection.
Need to connect emotionally just a little bit more. Sometimes that's all it takes to get the signature on the paper.
Needs to connect emotionally.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
part of the brand.
That's brand.
That's why the cover matters.
Exactly.
Because there's got to be something on there that says, oh, that's interesting. And that interest is emotional.
Now that you say emotions, it takes me to write another set of things that we need to talk about. And it's branding also establishes some values for the company.
It does. It can.
It can.
There is some benefit to a super simplistic approach. We've found that not most, but about half of our incoming customers have a problem to solve, but it's not always emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And we're discovering as a sales team that we actually need to help them discover the emotion in it sometimes by asking questions like, well, what if you don't? What if you leave it the way it is?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's the result? What's the consequence? You know, I'm beginning to understand that the sales process is also important, but some of our customers, the commercial in particular, it's a thing to do. It's a thing to check off the box. It's not the emotion isn't the project or the broken asphalt. The emotion is the tension and the pressure from the boss to get the job done. So we have to see it the way they see it to know how to respond in that very first interaction.
Yeah. The problem here is emotions, they come from different places. So in the residential, maybe it's emotional of feeling frustrated by not having, by having all the driveway all beat up and
clean. They want it clean. They want it to look good in the neighborhood. Yeah.
The curb appeal.
Yeah.
But that guy that is working the commercial, also there is emotions attached too.
Yeah.
But it's different source of emotions that we need to tap into with the branding.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's
and so sometimes simple, pushing just past simple is okay. But we've discovered that going too deep, too many words, too much action it actually doesn't get them in the door mentally. Like, we want them to take action. They get on our website, use the QR code. And sometimes if they're even the slightest bit confused, they just won't take that first action. So simplicity is also important
because it's natural.
It's natural. It's human.
It's human.
Yes, I do the same thing.
So,
if it looks complicated in the brand, then I don't need more complications in my life, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. It's a survival thing that our brains psychologically have the tendency of overpass all the complicated things because our life is complicated. We're exposed to thousands of images and concepts and messages every day. So we don't want more of that. We just want something simple that I need. Make my life easier so I can just move on and do what I have to do. So, Keith, why are you doing it? Because I know it pays for your way of living.
It's not a nonprofit.
Yeah, it's not a nonprofit.
That's foolishness. It's like if you own a nonprofit, if you are part of a nonprofit, that's not foolishness. But this is not meant to be, not built for that. We're supposed to profit. I believe that's part of our greatness on earth. And that's the thing that some of us get wrong, is that we're supposed to profit. We're supposed to prosper so that we can build opportunity for ourselves, our family, and the people around us. We're supposed to be able to give. And if we don't profit, we can't give.
Exactly.
So
if you cannot give what you don't have.
That's correct.
So the less you have, the less you can give out.
Yes.
You can give it a hug. You can pray for it. But sometimes they need a little bit more than that.
Yes. Yeah. So we're supposed to profit.
We're supposed to profit.
So,
but there is also on that journey, there is another things that you know, other than profit, why you're still in business.
Yeah, it's been a long run, 40 years. The why for me, especially when I had that tunnel vision, the blinders on, provide for the family, do a good job, always do what I say I'm going to do, make sure that the people that I was working for me taken care of first. That's always been a philosophy. There's ways to manipulate that and work through that too. But the why for us, once we about 4 years ago, after we doubled our business 3 years in a row, and then we hit the COVID year, and our business changed from about 55% commercial, which was typically bigger projects. It went back to residential. Our average job size dropped in half, not quite in half, but almost half. But our number of jobs doubled because of the type of customer that was willing to hire us in 2020. We went from, I don't remember, I think it was about 300 jobs to 600 jobs. And that's all different types. Paving, seal coatings, striping, any kind of job we added into that list. So 600 jobs, went from 300 to 600. Imagine the logistics that we had to learn in about 7 months. We didn't have to just learn them. We had to go do them. So when we finished 2020, my son, myself, and my wife were exhausted. So we were looking at our company. We're saying, well, how do we even grow? We have no more left. We can't do anymore. So I had heard from a friend, hey, there's this business system thing and there's this contact I have that maybe you should talk to this guy because he helps you implement a business system. And so I called him. We did a half-hour call, and I went back to my son and my wife, and I said, this guy talked to me about these things, this business, and this is kind of how it looked. Half-hour conversation. No, I didn't get it all. This is how it looks like it works. And we decided to have what they call the hour and a half introduction. He came out to our office and wrote it out on a whiteboard. This is how it works. And what we needed, because we were all at the top of our capacity, was we needed something systemic in front of us, something systematic that helped us define, to pull the pieces of the company apart, because us all being too busy and worn out and a little bit frustrated, though we had a little money, that was great. It ended up putting us in a position of tripping over each other a lot. And so once we saw the clarity on the board, the system said, oh, okay. So if we understood every low level amount about each of these 6 things that are within each company, our company, what would that do for us? And so we decided, let's hire him and let's start the process. Within 2 months, it's less than 2 months, I remember walking out of, we had an off-site all-day meeting. I remember walking out the first meeting going, I can't believe how clear, like I was energized. It's like, yeah, I'm still busy. And I look out at the year, this was 2021. I look out at the year and I say, I'm probably going to work more hours than I ever have in my life. But now I have a reason. Now I have the list that says you do this and you see it this way, and you do that and you see it this way. And there was a system to there was a method to the madness. Then we met a month later, and thankfully we were not in a complete disaster. Okay, we didn't have to rebuild everything. We had held it together enough to where that second meeting could be more about who are we and why are we. So we spent an entire day breaking out our core values. There's a process that this guy took us through to figure out what our actual core values are as a company, as people, because our core values as the founder and owner and the other owners, they're the important ones. And we're going to hire based on that, because if they're different, that's fine, but they may not fit. So we had to figure out ours.
Exactly.
And then that same day, we began pulling apart the idea of, okay, those are our core values, but what's our purpose? What's our cause? So they use the words cause and passion more than they use purpose statement, which I actually appreciate. What's our cause? And we realized that it was never money. For me, it's never been money. Like, I'm not a nonprofit. I got to make money. I got to pay the bills, and I got to supply for the family. And I do want things in the future, but it wasn't really about the money. I always thought if I treated them well, treated the customers well, created loyalty in both of those, then the money would come. I could even raise my prices perhaps if those two things were in place and loyal. And so we started figuring out, well, what are we about? What's important to us? And we realized that I call him me and mom, because Keith Jr. is our son. He's in with us. So me and mom, it's about transforming people. It's about the people. We have eye to eye conversations. If you sit down in our office, if we're alone, we're in you, we're looking into you. This is not just, hey, your employee, nice to know you. That is not the way it operates. And I'm sure we break HR rules. You know what? I'm good with that. I'm good with the consequences. I'm sure we break plenty of HR rules.
Yes.
But it's about the people. So we came up with this phrase. Actually, Keith Jr. came up with it. He said, what if something transformational? And it ended up being, well, it's also practical. It's also we do the work too. We do the work of transformation. And so transforming lives one shovel at a time. The way my wife explains it, that I love, I completely resonate with it, is that everybody's got crap in their life. And that means there's some shoveling to do. And if you can't shovel it, we'll get in there with you. So we realize that's why we live. That's why we have the business we do. And that's why it's always been. But this system required us to ask the question. And then it goes to, well, what's our ethos? Then how do we operate? That's cool to say that. The core values feed into that. They're symbiotic. But how do we operate because of those things? The 5 core values and the one cause or passion. Then what's our mantra? How do we do this? And what came out of that after a long discussion was quick and painless pavement solutions. That's what we provide. We are beginning to start to understand that that's actually should be part of our branding in some cases, because it makes people wonder what it means.
Exactly.
And so when I say keep your branding simple, okay, but make sure your tagline, see, we're going to put in our brand, we're going to keep transforming lives one shovel at a time. It'll be on our trucks and it'll be around. We want it to be part of us, because it is. But when the eyes first hit our brand, we're beginning to consider, when the eyes hit our brand, we want something that is on the face of that book that makes people go,
oh, yeah.
Oh,
I get it.
Okay, I get it. I get a piece of it. But what does it mean for me? We want them to ask, what does it mean for me? So quick and painless payment solutions. So quick and painless are actually in tension with each other.
Yeah.
Those are at odds. So you can't have only quick, because you're causing pain. And you can't have only painless and get quick. So we as a company work on that all the time. We buy our equipment, hire our people based on all of these components. And one of them is, in particular in purchasing equipment, does it make us more quick and painless? Does it hit the mark? Does it transform someone's life? And does it make us more quick and painless? We made, about a year ago, we made a decision to buy a trailer. Trailers are a waste of money. They don't do anything but cause problems. They do move equipment. We have to have trailers. We have to have them. We only have like 24 of them or 8 of them. I don't even know. Trailers everywhere. They're a pain. And they don't produce anything. But we have to have trailers. So with this attitude, we go through this list. Well, okay, does it fit our core values? Ultimately, there's a purchase we need to make. Does it transform lives? Well, it transforms a couple of our employees this way, transforms how we do things this way. Okay, does it make us more quick and painless? And everybody went, yep. Guess what? We wrote a check for $70,000 for a trailer, a big giant trailer, but it was a trailer. I don't want trailers, but it hit the mark, took the emotion out of it for me and said, okay, that's the metric I needed. Does it do what I need it to do? As our mantra, does it get us to where we're going? And the answer was a resounding yes. So we turned to the finance person, who is my wife, who's, like she's holding that bag of money, right? Her fingers don't come off of that baby. And she says, well, if it makes us more quick and painless, then the answer is yes. I'll figure it out.
And that's exactly what branding does. Because people, they assume that branding is just the theory behind it, or just a visual behind it, and it's just they complement each other. So branding, they keep you. It is a guideline.
It's a guideline. It helps you focus.
Focus. So if it's not helping you to be quick and painless, paving solutions. Doesn't fit on my idea. It's a great idea, but it doesn't fit on where we're moving and where we're going.
Yes.
If it doesn't, whatever it is, if it doesn't commingle with our core values, we don't do it.
We don't do it.
Doesn't matter if it brings a lot of money. Oh, this company is making millions over here. Yep. That's fine. That's good for them. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, that's branding. Branding is to understand who we are, what is our personality as a company, because that permeates into all the way that our salespeople, they don't lie. Because we here in part of our core values, we're honest. Yes. Mm-hmm. So if you are not going to be honest, you cannot be part of the team.
You don't fit here.
You don't fit. Exactly.
So that business system, they allowed it to work on us. They allowed it. So that year, 2021, was like going to 4-year business school. I did it all in a year. I had no idea that we could grow another, another 25%, 30%, and not kill ourselves doing it. I just pictured this problem, and it helped us understand that we could do it, that we were confident. Of course, we've grown a bit since then. That's been over 3 years ago.
So I know that we're getting close to the time, but this last part, I want you to talk to the audience and tell them, because your impact as a company, I have seen. Yeah, I've been a witness firsthand. The transformational that is part of your logo mantra. The whole thing. And it's transforming lives one shovel at a time. I have seen how you guys touch lives, along the way. But also, I have also seen that it's not only local, because I know employees are local. But I have seen you guys extending not just that touch to your community, that transforming life in your community. Now your impact is being extending like a pebble on a lake that is being
Ripple
effect nationwide. Please tell me more about it.
Well, this morning I was on a podcast.
Another podcast?
Yeah. And he is somebody that lives in Pittsburgh. And I met him through another paving contractor. And his podcast is called Honey, I'm Home. And it's pointed at husbands and how they do a better job for their families. And well, that resonates with me. You know that about me, that I care about that subject. Yes. Well, guess what? We met each other and we talked. And he's like, I've got this podcast and I'd like you on. Cool. I'm with you. We're actually going to work on, doing a series of some kind. But that's just one example. Last week, early in the week, I texted two people. I'm part of an organization called Top Contractor School, and there's contractors all over the country in that group. A couple hundred, but we're closely affiliated with about 55 of them. It's called Inner Circle, and so we talk a lot amongst this group of 50 or so contractors. There's a couple of them in California, and I sent two of them a text because I had a question about which organizations give them the most traction to join from a business development standpoint. And you know what these guys both did without talking to each other? I said, my question was, what organizations are you part of? And once you give me their names, I'll look in Oregon and find out what's similar. So instead of them answering the question, they both got on the websites in Oregon and found me the ones that were similar and sent them to me. So that's the power of social media. That's the power of reaching out. That's the power of reaching out to learn things. I go attend and am involved in Top Contractor School. Now, why would I do that? I've been in business 40 years. Well, let me tell you why I would do that. Currently, I have 3 coaches. I have a pastor that I coach with he's kind of a life coach, a vision coach. And we talk a lot about spiritual things, although he has businesses too. And so he understands that side of it. So it's very holistic. I also am working with a guy that is a professional at sales leadership. I'm the sales leader in my organization, sales director. And I needed to get better at it so that I can be really good at passing it off. I hope to pass it off within 6 months. But I realized that I was deficient. I knew about this guy. He is local. I call him and I say, I need your help. I need your coaching. Another one is on marketing. We're developing at K&L a marketing strategy for the first time ever. It's gonna last 2 to 3 years. Now, there's going to be flexibility built in because that's the way the market forces that. But first time ever. All that to say, your question is one thing, and then I've kind of gone a little bit different direction, is that we can't close our minds and be focused on
what we do best.
Right here, what we think we do best. Because you know what? Someone else does it better. Someone else does part of it better, for sure. Yeah. I will arguably say that K&L is probably the fastest producing company in our size bracket of anybody in the country. Now, I don't have proof. I've not been to every company, but I will say that production rates here are astounding for most. And I say that with a lot of pride. Like, that's a cool thing. That year after COVID helped us, that year during COVID helped us learn how to be efficient and to be fast at transition from one job to the next. And when you go from 300 jobs to 600 jobs, you have to learn. Yes. Quick. You have to get off of one job and on the next. And these are minutes. These are not quarter hours or half hours. These are minutes you're wasting, and you have to use every one. And so to answer the question about spreading our wings is that, first of all, we need to be willing. Spreading out, we need to be willing. And on that podcast that I was on earlier today, we talked about some myths that are out there now. Like, go for your dreams. It's okay to be you, and some of these other things like that. And one of them is you got to love yourself before you love others. There's a component to that has some truth in it. But honestly, you don't know how to love others if you never do it. And you won't fully love yourself until you go practice it. And so that's what reaching out to people and getting help, offering help does. So I would suggest certain Facebook groups. Some of them are terrible, but there are some good ones. There is ways to become part of organizations, even locally, where you can help each other, especially if it's organizations that don't have a lot of your particular industry, particular thing that you do. You can absorb so much from other people and serve them in the process. And that's the idea. That's the idea, is to go serve. When you go to help, you get more. When we go to these events for Top Contractor School, what we call TCS, when we go to those events, and they're almost always traveling somewhere, most of the time East Coast, Lillian and I will often ask ourselves, sometimes talk about, but always ask ourselves, what are we going to give? What's there that needs to be done? How can we go serve these people? And because we've asked the question, then our eyes are more open when we walk in the room. And this last time we were in Florida, and there were 2 or 3 people that came to me with certain needs, and some of them were deep, some of them were simple, tactical business things. Others were far deeper, and got a chance to pray with them and give them some clarity to go back out into life with. And she did the same thing. Like, we get through the first night and we're tired because we've spoken to 20 or 30 people, gone deep with several of them, and ended up praying for them, because that's one of the ways we serve. So we just expect. You always find what you're looking for. And if you look for a place to serve and be helpful and to give information, there's people in your audience that should be given more than they do, because they have their mind and their heart is a gold mine for how they can help others in their community and in expanded communities, and not even in their own business. Like, somebody can call me in a different business. And, well, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and he said, how would I grow a business in this area? And I gave him this analogy. I won't get into the whole thing right now, but he leaned back in his chair and he went, I get it. Okay. Now I know where to start. And he's already started, but now he knows where to go next. It's not because I'm so smart. I just learned how to do it because I went and practiced. When someone asks a question, I don't always have the answer, but I've practiced giving answers, and some of them are perfect, some of them are not so perfect. But I also look at my past and the milestones in my past and say, I've learned a lot. So I can't give you the answer of what to do, but I can tell you what not to do. Right?
Yes.
I got a lot of those.
Yeah, well, actually, that brings a really good ending to the story. Please tell people how they can, because I know that you are impacting life through your podcast. Greatness from small beginnings.
Yeah, I'm starting to. I'd like to see more action there, but
Oh no, believe me, I've been really following you on that, and it has impacted me. There are so many cool stories.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun. So yeah, tell people how they can find you.
Well, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on YouTube, where a lot of the podcast stuff is. It's Keith L. Callaway.
Keith L. Callaway.
Yeah, it's good to put the L in there. If you just put Keith Callaway in there, you'll find my son. He's got some stuff too, and it's good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But if you want to find specifically me, then that's what you do. And there's a lot. About almost 2 years ago, I started posting a morning devotional. Now the quality was terrible and whatever. I didn't care. I just need to do this thing. And so every day, 5 days a week for most of the last year and a half plus, I've put out something into the world that came from somebody bigger than me. And it was out of the overflow of years and years of accumulating some wisdom, and I just felt like I needed to put it out there. And so that's why the podcast, and that's why I do these things is to give. And because there's an overflow. It
is an overflow.
Yeah.
And it's an overflow that only higher.
Yeah. And I hope it raises people.
Yes.
I hope it fills them, raises them. And then I hope that there's a ripple effect there too. But that's not up to me. I just need to do my ring. I just do my ring in the ripple.
Yeah.
Right?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And
yeah, glad to do it.
Yeah. I know that there is a lot of nuggets that we can get out of this conversation. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being the grandpa of my grandkids.
You're welcome. I love those kids.
we all love